Who wants to start?
So I will call to order the Town of Rome Joint Community Development Authority and Plan Commission Subcommittee meeting. Today is Tuesday, May 10th, 2:30 p.m. And we will first do a roll call, and we'll start over here with Sharon.
Schermerhorn here.
Capel here.
Baker here.
Goldman here.
Okay. Also present are Town Attorney Nick Flanagan and Zoning Administrator Emily Zeddies. Certified posting of the meeting.
The agenda for the joint CDA and subcommittee meeting was posted at the following locations on Thursday, May 5th. Rome Municipal Building at 3:36 p.m. Leicester Public Library of Rome, 3:19 p.m. Nakusa Port Edward State Bank at 3:15 p.m. Email to the Wisconsin Daily Tribune at 8:45 a.m.
Approval of the agenda for today.
I'll move approval.
Is there a second?
Sure. Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Paul, you're welcome to sit up front if you would like to. You
Okay.
just wouldn't be able to vote because you're alternate, just so you know.
Gotcha.
Citizen comment, there was no comment cards received for today, but if you do have input, feel free to just raise your hand and we'll make sure to call on you on any of the agenda items, but no other comment cards received. No action contemplated except for possible referral to future agendas. Item number 6, information updates, recent correspondence, current events, and announcements. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share? Other than, so we are under tornado watch until 9 p.m. If we would have a warning and we would need to locate to someplace else in the building, that's in the kitchen off of the community room is our most interior room, and there's a room in the back of that. So if for some reason we would need to relocate.
You're not talking about the refrigerator.
Not the refrigerator, right next to the refrigerator. It is a very small space, so if there are, but just so you know, that's where we would go. Anything else? Okay. So discussion and possible action on the following items. Discussion and possible action approval of the April 12th, 2022 joint meeting minutes. The minutes were included in your packet. We would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept as printed.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Item number 8, discussion and possible action. Second review of track change modifications to Chapter 2, Natural, Agricultural, and Cultural Resource Goals, Objectives, and Policies for the Comprehensive Plan. So, again, in the packet, there was a revision to Chapter 2 that Emily put together, and we'll have Emily kind of walk us through those revisions.
Okay. So I kept in there the green highlighted section that we went over last time, and then took the notes from last time just to make and update all the changes. The biggest one was the combination or the combining of objective 4, 5, and 6. So that'd be probably the biggest focus of if you guys have any comments of how to, that's a-okay.
So 4, 5, and 6 are now 4,
Yes, 4,
Right.
5, and 6 have now all been combined into objective 4.
which is preserve and protect all present natural resources, prioritizing environmentally sensitive areas from development. These areas include flood hazards, wetlands, groundwater, forested lands, and open space corridors. Protect and maintain high water quality standards within the town, especially around the Tri-Lakes area.
Madam Chair?
Yes?
I had one question, whether we want to add another modifier under Objective 3, Policy 3. And that's create a positive visual rural image, both inside and outside the right-of-way.
again, designating that we would like to have a rural nature and appearance.
Right, and it's brought up other places, but I thought it was appropriate here as well.
And I had one question or comment, I suppose. On objective 4, what you just read, I'm wondering if that last part, protect and maintain high water, that sentence should be a policy. It reads like a policy, that's the reason I bring that up.
Well, policy 4 kind of goes along, well, the policies that exist, I guess, kind of go along with that.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and if that's the case,
Don't
then
need it.
we could probably strike it.
It's everything prior to that, and the objective is addressing wetlands, groundwater, et cetera.
The only thing it doesn't specifically then state is around the tri-lakes, but I guess the conversation could be had, like, most of the town is around the tri-lakes, right?
No.
And most of the groundwater would be going through the tri-lakes at some point. Is it redundant to have to say it again?
So strike that last,
That whole last sentence?
okay.
Copy anything? Copy of any of this?
Anything else on this chapter? Do we feel like the combining simplified things?
Yeah, I think it made a lot of organizational sense.
Sometimes less is more.
Do you guys want me to walk through all the changes? The other ones were mostly striking out and rearranging, so that's why I kinda jumped to objective 4 there.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, and I think an important piece of this is the density. 'Cause it does very specifically talk about controlling density of development, so allow it where we have multifamily or more dense versus not wanting it to be dense across all of town. I think that it better articulates that than it previously
Right.
did. Okay, so we feel good about chapter 2? Okay.
I think so.
So item number 9 is discussion and possible action, review track change modifications to chapter 3, housing goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. So I see Emily included in the packet, both our combined, comments again, and track changes for chapter 3 objectives.
Before we start, I have a question. Since it's housing, I'm assuming camping and trailers fall under housing
So
as
fair-
far as zoning goes?
Go ahead.
Not necessarily.
Okay, Are they separate?
I think it could also fall under use.
I have a question as to how we regulate them now. I was looking for it and it says per the zoning regulations, but I can't find any locations spelled out.
For camping?
Yeah, and for trailers,
Camping is regulated in our zoning ordinance under use.
under
It's under uses both, I believe
uses.
it's, earlier in the zoning ordinance,
Okay.
under,
It's,
uses,
yeah.
and then it's definitely under, district-specific uses,
yes.
with, I think very exacting limitations as far as,
Okay,
camping units.
I'll go back.
Camping would be allowed in all of our residential zoning and FR. It's not allowed in commercial zoning, but it would be allowed
In any residential?
in residential
or
zoning
any
and
FR.
FR.
Okay,
Forest and recreation.
yeah.
And
I
in just
know.
a moment, I'll get you the, instead of just saying earlier in the ordinance, I can actually get you the section of the ordinance that it falls under.
I think it's 9.
I think it's, yeah, so there's use regulations, 360-9.
Okay.
That's where it's at. I think you're right.
It's an interesting question in this moment though, because we've had a lot of conversation regarding camping, but if we think that's, we always let people know that camping is not living, right? Camping is recreational in nature. You couldn't be in a camper, you couldn't live in your camper as a home here in the town. So I think that's if it's not housing, where do we make sure that we include what is our long-term vision for that in the plan?
Yeah, because I didn't see it anywhere else. I'll go back and look. Thank you.
Well, if you said use, so are you
That would
thinking
be-
like land use in
Yeah,
chapter 9?
that would be an opportunity to, if it's not in there, under the goals, objectives, and policies, that would be another chapter that presents an opportunity to build that in.
Okay.
So there's the land use chapter, going to have the current and future land use maps, but then there's of course also, similar to all the other chapters, there's goals, objectives, and policies, and we can put that in there as well.
Okay.
So let's just make a note that we bring that back up under land use, so we make sure that we don't lose that in the parking lot someplace.
Then I had a question about, where is it, policy, under objective 3, policy 2. I read it a couple times and it says regulate areas and establish zoning standard within the town. Should it be a zoning standard or zoning standards?
Probably S
Yeah.
standards.
S? Okay, one of the two would make sense.
That's actually a very good segue, because that policy has to do with manufactured homes. And we have had some requests for, when manufactured homes are essentially mobile homes, about addressing areas where they're allowed in town, or expanding areas where they're allowed in town, because they are a more economical style of home. So right now they're only allowed in R2 zoning in the town, and R2 zoning is in our southwestern side of town and a little bit in our northeastern side of town.
Tell them Big Flats is available.
Do not pick on our neighbors.
Why are those in red?
When you say you've had several requests?
Yes, just because again, it's a more economical style of home, and in areas that are adjacent to where we allow, like in our perpetual camping areas, or in those R2 areas, there are series of lots, especially in our southwestern side of town, where it's been brought up that they could see that could also be R2. Right now, it would be R1 in nature.
Okay. Do we have a policy that if you purchase a lot, you can throw a mobile home on there for a period of time before you build?
No. And the only place where mobile homes would be allowed is in R2.
Okay.
What did we rezone that area off of 9th and Akron? That secluded land company had inquiries,
This is R1. This is Akron
Ninth.
and is this Akron and 9th?
This is Akron and Ninth.
So this is for Akron and 14th.
Yes.
thinking of Akron and 9th,
That's R1.
that is R1, so
That's
they
R1.
can leave those mobile home units on their property year-round,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. So would that be considered I mean, could they live there year-round?
No, camping is not living.
So in a mobile home is camping?
Nope. A mobile home, like a single or a double wide trailer, could be a home, and it's only allowed in R2. So
Okay.
that could be year round. Those are not campers.
All right.
Not to be confused with, and you'll appreciate Emily and Maya's world now, not to be confused with a park model. A park model could be allowed, but you have to have it removed if you're in LD.
A park model means it no longer has wheels?
Park
It's on
model could or could not have wheels, but they're usually much larger in size, sometimes 2 stories.
Is there one out there now? Is that what you asked?
No, I was, the one that's right on the corner of 9th and Akron Drive, where the guy has it. I think the intent was all along for most of those people to build homes eventually, where now he's got the basement in. The basement walls are up, but that's as far as it's gotten in the last 6 months or so. And I think, if I remember correctly, he pretty much resided there all year round.
Yes, we addressed that with him.
Okay.
Yep, yes, because you can't be there all year round, but the camper would not have to move.
Correct.
Yep, from an R1 lot, it could stay. The only lots where it needs to be removed is Lake District, and that's because there is a outdoor storage piece within Lake District for off-season.
Then you have some people that are grandfathered.
They're not grandfathered, they stayed on during the season the year when the lawsuit happened, so they're non-conforming. Remember, there's no grandfathering in
Okay.
zoning, only non-conforming.
Poor choice of phrase.
Everyone says grandfathered, but
Mm-hmm.
it's non-conforming. And that might be something that we also put in the parking lot for when we get to the land use
Yeah.
map. But just a thought, it's just one of those things when we talk about housing and affordable housing.
I think if we want to allow it, we definitely should control it and put it in certain spaces and not allow it all over the place. So it's a good thing for the parking lot. Bring your mic up.
I'm just wondering, objective 2, policy 4 and 5, they sound so similar to me, and I was just wondering if there's any way we could just combine them into one. They're very, very similar. Redundant, almost, just. They were added, that's why they're red, right, and underlined.
I don't disagree with that, they are
Yeah.
similar, they likely could get combined.
I think that's very easily combined.
Under objective number 7, with the multifamily, I would just point out that right now, we don't have very much of town that is zone multifamily.
No.
But the one part we do have is 10 acres within Rome Town Center. And I personally do envision that to be a more concentrated section, because it's one of the few acres that we do have for multifamily. We wouldn't, if that's our 10 acres that we are claiming as multifamily, we wouldn't want it to be not concentrated, right? Like,
Correct.
On that point, would policy 1 under objective 7, could we just fold that into objective 3 and reword it a little bit? Make it to it, would pare down the objectives a bit.
yeah.
How would we discourage the concentration of rental?
Well, it's interesting because if you read that and then read the policy underneath it, that is one way we could perhaps control the concentration of rental, but I don't know that we wanna say discourage. Control is probably a better way of putting that.
Yeah, I would agree.
But we're gonna get rid of objective 7 and put this policy under 3, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah, if we're all in agreement, I think that's,
Well, that rental applies to the policy that's underneath it. And I think this was written before state law changed too, so.
which is another question when they say rental, I think that brings up short-term rental and long-term rental,
Right.
right? It's the, and I would say that there are strong feelings about discouraging and encouraging short-term rental on both sides.
Well, and before the law changed, to Supervisor Bowman's point, I would say our ordinance took a very strong position. In fact, to discourage short-term rentals and made it clear that we did.
If you're talking about in so many of these objectives, it says encourage, and I guess I feel in some of them that it needs to be even stronger language, like regulate or establish guidelines, because the word encourage to me, you have objective 4, policy 3, it begins with encourage environmental sustainability. How do you encourage it? To incorporate or to regulate or to establish guidelines for. Encourage also comes up in objective 5, where appropriate, encourage the rehabilitation of substandard homes. I mean, I guess my question is, I just feel stronger language instead of encourage. I guess I don't understand why encourage is used all the time. Objective 6, the same thing, encourage neighborhood locations that protect residential areas. Yeah, I don't know why that word is if there's a purpose for that, I guess I just want to know, but I don't know why that word is used.
I
It's
can maybe add a little bit to it. So,
Okay.
as you kind of drill down from the broad goals, to more specific objectives and then even more specific policies, you're going to be more general, okay, as you kind of work your way up. And so those kind of general language things like encourage are potentially okay for objectives and goals. I would say when you get down to the policy, you should be more specific in how you're going to do that. But certainly we can adjust the language if there is one that's concerning.
Oh, I'm not, I just don't understand why the word, it's always encourage, and I guess I like to enforce encourage, but I understand what you're saying, Nick, in that, in the policy, it could be more specific on how we can regulate or establish guidelines, or, I get it. It's just used all the time, and I guess
I only say what I did because I think you're gonna see it repeatedly in these, as it's broader, it's going to use language probably like encourage, and then as you get into the policies, it probably should be something more specific, although I'm
just
still gonna-
stronger
realize I'm
language,
contradicting
just
myself where we
something a
have
little
policies
stronger.
that definitely say encourage.
Yeah.
But I would just say that if we were going to look at adjusting encourage or that kind of broader language, we would maybe start with some of the policies. For example, policies 4 and 5 under objective 2, if we wanted to.
Yeah, taking out the, and,
Policy 3 under objective 3 is also another one.
yep.
I mean, ultimately, the consultant that helped do this in the first place probably didn't want it to appear as a very offensive document, so.
Yeah.
But I agree, policies are probably where there should be the stronger language that says this is what we intend to do.
And that'll also help the plan commission when we're approached with requests, and they need to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Those policies with a bit more specificity to them will, I think, give some better footing to the plan commission then in just making decisions and ensuring that they're consistent with the comp plan.
So 3 additional items I think that maybe we should add or put in would be on short-term rentals that they're regulated, that we intend to regulate them, that, a common question we get is, why do you have the rules? Is there any option to change the rules, right? And I think Plan Commission and residents have also felt strongly like the rules are in place for a reason. So maybe stating when we talk about rentals that short-term rentals would be regulated, or adding in that regulation piece. We do talk about character and neighborhoods, but maybe adding that rural nature into this, or larger lot sizes, because we have gone to larger lot sizes. So although opportunities for housing development, we're able in existing residential areas, still keeping that more rural or larger lot size nature. And then the last piece is workforce housing. Like, we have a need for workforce housing. We have a lot of seasonal employees. We have individuals that would like to buy first-time homes. For us, that sometimes tends to be cottages or smaller. And sometimes those are purchased from people that are looking to short-term rent before other people could be able to purchase them as a first-time home. So is opportunities for other varieties of housing that might allow for workforce that are here for a shorter period of time, or are looking for a starter home.
So my question then, building off of that, is do you have an idea of where we would build those in? Like, for example, maybe objective 2 for workforce housing?
2 or 3. Opportunities or range of choices, I could see in
Sure.
either one. But I think objective number 1 is where we would put that, keeping rural in nature or larger lot size. Actually, that could be 1 or 4, because that talks about our environmentally sensitive areas, natural resources, natural characteristic.
Where would you add the bit about short-term rental regulation?
Well, if we put under number 3 the piece about the rental, then I think it would get added in as like a policy number 4 under objective number 3. That would talk about that we would establish specific places for more dense development in multifamily and regulate short-term rentals.
Aren't those kind of 2 separate things, though?
I mean, I think
They
the
could-
regulating short-term rentals could also go under number 6, if we, depending on how the wording is used, I think we could fit it under objective 6.
Yeah, that's also a good place, yeah.
Because I think obviously I'm going to be saying something that the plan commission probably already knows, but to the others that are here, one of the concerns that sometimes comes up is the idea that sometimes short-term rentals can be a more commercial or business type use, and how do we balance that, with what we're required to do under law, with the regulations that we have. I think it fits well under objective 6.
Can we deal with density on that issue?
I don't think by state law we could do a density.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Well, so the plan commission does do, in their conditions, they will always do a limitation on number of renters, and our ordinance.
I'm talking number of homes that
Yeah,
are
if the whole
short-term
street
rental
became-
in an area.
Whole street became
Unfortunately-
State law prohibited that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I thought it
is.
did, but
to set a density in that regard is probably not going to work.
so eventually Rome could be a all short-term rental vacation home.
Even Door County hasn't gone all short-term rent, right? like, I don't know that we would get there.
They're getting closer.
Well, we still have the ability to set a limitation in number of nights to rent in. I think it's,
Yeah,
at
but
the
that's,
180 point. We've had the conversations, but haven't gone to that step yet. But I think there is if there was a real concern in that regard, I think there would be
start limiting the,
a position we could take that
Okay.
would
Isn't there only,
hard stop to that.
is there only one other community that's done that in the state so far?
Yeah, it's not a common thing that you see.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's only one, but I haven't seen it commonly used.
I don't wanna be a part of that legal battle.
oh, they're already in court?
It's also, it's not impossible to enforce, especially because we have host compliance, but it would be difficult to enforce. And so, let's say you book a 4-night stay and you make $2,400, and we send you a citation for $250.
Yeah. Pay it,
Yeah,
pay it and shut up. It's like a first offense OWI.
it's not like we couldn't have the conversation about the citation, but at some point there's it just makes, not to say, the short-term rentals that we have are good about abiding by the rules. Anything else on housing? I think these were all good.
I just have one other thing on objective 5, policy 2, where it states connect property owners with available housing assistance, home improvements, and rehabilitation programs. Is there a network available? If you have it as a, would there be a network available either here at the town hall of a list or a network of available contractors for people to notify in order to have home improvements and that? I guess I asked that because when I read that, I thought there are so many people, and I'm on Facebook every now and then, but that say, I'm looking for someone to do this, I'm looking for someone to do that. And as a policy, I'm just wondering if we have any resources to, is
In
there
other words,
anything like that?
how would we enact the policy? That's what you're asking.
But isn't that language more aimed at connecting homeowners with programs that then give them access to funds, et cetera, to do the improvements? Like, I mean, the
Yeah.
town can't be in the business of promoting one
No,
business
but
over another.
interestingly, there is a role that CDA can play in this. So I think it can be put in the comp plan, but I think also as CDA continues to look at the roles that they can play in assisting businesses and homeowners in the area,
Well,
I think there is a rehabilitation and that part of it role that the CDA can play.
I'm hoping that's something else that the grants committee is gonna explore. And feed it, they could feed it, and then we could allow it, we could put it on our webpage.
Well, it's an interesting idea too. I mean, lots of communities do a rehabilitation loan, revolving loan fund, that would be, I mean, they have qualifications of how you would apply, but if there are people that would need help, that maybe they are first-time home owners or had a situation where they need a new roof and need some assistance, that the CDA could be the person, the group that would explore those applications. And I mean, other communities do something similar. I know Camelot's doing something similar now, aren't they, with like brush and timber or neighbors helping
Well,
neighbors?
there's the neighbors helping neighbors thing, but even I don't know all the details of, that's not a Camelot program per se, but I think the funds are coming from the county, aren't they?
I don't know.
But there's a prime example of the people that should be in the know aren't aware of all the details, right? But something does exist.
Yeah.
That just started getting talked about, so.
It's just somewhere you could refer someone to, just, I don't know.
Yeah, and our number one resource here from the town is 211. I mean, we always ask people that if they, 211 is gonna be their most statewide combined resource that would help them get connected, right?
And what is that called, 2-on-1?
211. Anything else on housing? So I think it's nice to do what we did with chapter 2, where we'll do the rework and then we bring it back for that second review, just to make sure that it matches our discussion. Okay? So then let's go to item number 10, discussion and possible action, review track changes, modifications to chapter 4, transportation goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. You're ready.
I am. I did my homework.
This is your area of expertise, though.
It is. Under Objective 1, Policy 2, it says conduct periodic reviews of the condition and safety of aspects of our town roads. And if I'm not mistaken, we are required in order to qualify for DOT grants to do it annually at a minimum?
Every odd year.
Really? Only every 2 years?
Yep.
With Pazer?
Yep, every odd year.
Okay, so that would be or biannually then? As opposed to periodic. I don't like periodic because that leaves it open. And then I added the word rating, so conduct biannual reviews and ratings of the condition of and safety of our aspects of town roads. Because that's really what they're doing under Pazer.
I thought Pazer was referenced somewhere else in here, but I'm not
It
seeing
is.
it now.
It is further on. But if we're gonna have that review under this policy, then we should have the
Yeah, under objective 6.
yeah, I was looking for it.
Me too.
Which there it says, to nitpick, it says annual, but I think ultimately the town should be using the Pazer system to guide the activities to maintain the
Well,
roads.
That was why I brought it up, because if you wanna do it, do you wanna do it annually, then we should put it in there.
Well, you're
It's
doing,
mandatory to do it biannual.
yeah, you do it biannually, but that information is good enough to guide the activities that are happening annually, like road maintenance
But
contracts.
do you get
and
every,
such.
I mean, when you're doing Pazer though, you have to hit every single square foot of
Right,
road.
yeah.
You don't necessarily do that in order to decide where you're gonna expend the road funds. Or do you?
Yes and no. I mean, it plays heavily into the
I don't know.
decisions we're making.
That's why I'm asking, because if you want it annually, then we should put it in annually, even if it is a biannual for Pazer.
I think it would be difficult to do annually, and I don't know, I mean, roads are, unless there's something that happens oddly on them, they're built for 25, 50-year increments, so.
Not ours.
Actually, ours
Not
were,
ours.
but they just haven't been maintained properly. And a lot of them are
Well-
nearing the end of that 40-year lifespan, so.
But I don't think you're gonna see substantial, unless there's something, I hate to pick on this road, cause we just redid it, it looks really good, but Lilac is a good example, it had 4 houses built on it this last year, like it
Needed it.
it needed it, right? But 4 houses built on a short cul-de-sac and 2 garages, that was a lot of truck traffic that it wasn't otherwise prepared to see. So that would be something that made it dramatically change in a year, but otherwise, to do it every year, I don't know that you're gonna see substantial enough differences for the staff time.
So under
Well, if you wanna put the biannual under Pazer, under policy 1, as opposed to here, I have no objection to that. That would make more sense then, and that's what you were getting at, I think, Dan.
Mhm.
Because it did say annual here, so if it's biannual, we should clear that up. Then in objective 2, it's cosmetic, but there should be a space between, on the second line at the end, between that and ensure. And another cosmetic one under objective 5, policy 1, the last sentence on the first column. On State Highway 13 at should be not capitalized, small letters.
What was that first one? Objective 2?
Objective 5, policy 1.
Yeah.
Oh, the first one? The first one is objective 2, the first paragraph, second line.
got
formatting
it
messes
changed
it
from
up.
the PDF.
Okay.
now.
Well, I figured that when I saw the columns, but,
Why are we referring to a very specific issue in this policy? That being the traffic speeds at 13 in Apache. And everything else is kind of very generic, and then we interject that. And I know there's a lot of focus on that right now, but ultimately it's DOT's territory.
Um,
I think somebody just made the recommendation.
I think it was just a recommendation, but
Yeah.
residential speeding is an often concern, right? Not, I understand this is at State Highway 13 is not really considered residential, but Apache is. But I hear you, it does seem kind of out of place with the other objectives.
Yeah,
like
just
it-
in the spirit of everything else around it.
And solutions for ensuring good traffic flow and improved safety in these areas, including the installation of additional traffic control devices. I mean, that, it's getting to all of those things without mentioning that specific intersection. I also don't, I don't know if we should put traffic control devices in there because it's just not the way the DOT is thinking going ahead. They don't,
You know,
traffic
they're
lights
looking
are
at roundabouts as
expensive.
opposed to
Yes.
control devices.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I think that's referencing working with DOT, the county, surrounding towns, developers. I think it's more than DOT. I think you're probably okay leaving the traffic control devices, but I would agree that you're being very specific with that one where you could, if the concern was speeding in residential neighborhoods or cross traffic volume,
Should just
we
say that, right?
just say it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and then that may be a real concern, and then we can expand it beyond just one specific area.
So just make it more generic and say special attention should be given to speeding and cross traffic volumes and leave out the location.
Makes sense, yeah. Unless you got a suggestion.
Then the question of objective number 5 and objective number 7, is there, it's all talking about safety on the roadways, right? And working cooperatively for safety on the roadways. Yeah. I mean, there might be a
Could-
divide here between safety and maintenance, right? But
Yeah, but if you look at 5 and 7, maybe there's an opportunity to combine.
yeah.
6 focuses on maintenance in particular, right?
Yeah, and a little more on, I would say, like, funding aspects too.
Do we need to update Objective 6 Policy 3 with the
Mm-hmm.
state programs?
Yeah, and we might wanna make that more general. I think that T still exists, but now, I'd hate to put in all the stuff that's available now under infrastructure, cause it won't be.
Right.
Just wanna circle that, and maybe we would make that wording more general as far as available transportation funding.
Yeah. Because it's gonna change.
Yeah. And that might be an opportunity to input the grants committee, like explore available transportation funding through the Town of Rome Grants Committee. Moving down to the goal number 3, have anything in there about our link the lakes and tunnel under State Highway 13.
Maybe expand upon policy 3.
Yeah, we can work on some wording that would be. Cause I think policy number 6 could get put into the overall development of the Link the Lakes trail system, because that's gonna include Rome Town Center, it would run through Rome Town Center. And that piece about pedestrian tunnel under 13.
Policy 5 is minor collector roads the right terminology? I'm struggling.
Yeah, I'm not, yeah. I just don't like that one, cause when we've talked about overall the Link the Lakes, we've talked about what I would call to be more major collectors, because your cul-de-sacs are, and those are what's gonna connect in, and we're not gonna bike lane all of those, it doesn't make sense, this is not high enough traffic volume. I almost think if we add in Link the Lakes, we take out policy 5 in totality. An overall trail system that would be linking pedestrian traffic in a fashion around town. Cause then it's essentially, wherever you are, you're trying to get to the Link the Lakes trail to take you the rest of the way.
And that'll be both pedestrian and bicycle?
Yes, all silent sports, no ATVs, no UTVs,
No motorized vehicle?
no motorized, yeah. Unless you have a cheater bike.
A what?
An electric bike, a cheater bike.
So we're striking 5.
I would strike 5.
One other thing, it's very minor, but I see on this chapter, there's all the policy has the language after it, and all the other ones have policy in the
Yeah.
without the space. So I would just pull that one out
Mm-hmm.
to make it consistent with the other chapters.
That last objective, number 10, avoid development and expansion of town transportation network into locations that would negatively impact the area's natural resources.
Doesn't get more generic than that.
Right. I think there has to be some, how do we determine that negative impact? That's my only thought.
Well, I mean, if you look at the policy, road requirements are what road requirements are. You can't make it a 1-lane road because you don't wanna take down certain trees, right?
And in this moment, we are working on constructing some new roads, but I don't necessarily foresee us constructing lots of new roads, right? We're not.
I mean, ultimately, the new roads that are getting constructed are largely within subdivisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're following town road standards.
Mm-hmm.
And then ultimately the aesthetics of which the developer, the subdivision, is trying to achieve, which are hopefully in line with our rural image. So, do we even need this?
My suggestion would be no, because you would be taking care of it through your, I mean, if a subdivision came forward and you're looking at an overall plan, as plan commission, you're gonna see a site plan on that, right? And you would say, you gotta have streetlights, or like, we would like to see these things.
Yeah, because I think most of our new development's all gonna be part of Sand Valley. I mean, unless somebody really decides to buy a big parcel of land and create another subdivision
Well, and
somewhere.
I think you cover it in objective 3 too. I mean, objective 3 has pretty much everything that Supervisor Goldman just referenced.
Touches all the area's natural resources.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you can just take
Yep.
out objective number 10 in totality.
I just noticed policy 4 that's on that same
To help
page.
finance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's I could see what somebody was thinking when they typed that.
That's a good idea. I have no clue what the word's supposed to be.
Okay. Anything else to this chapter? No, I'm good?
I've got the questions, but they're not germane to what you're working on.
Okay. Feeling good about transportation? We'll bring that one back again next month, just as a secondary review. So, discussion of possible action, review track changes, modifications to chapter 5, utilities and community facilities, goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan.
I've got one comment. On objective 3, policy 3, we already have our corp. Consider the development of a town level comprehensive outdoor rec plan. We already have done that. So it's a matter of keeping it current
Goal 2, objective 1, policy 3.
in policy 3.
So instead of develop it would be maintain.
Maintain the, right,
Maintain the.
and then I would suggest adding the 14-mile watershed on policy 1 after Tri-Lakes as a key player in that area. Surface water resources.
Objective 2, policy 1.
Objective 2, policy 1.
Okay.
After Tri-Lakes management, add 14-mile watershed alliance.
Policy, what is this? Objective 1, policy 4. Seems to be referring to the Link the Lakes project that's underway with draft and others, yes?
Wait, which one? I'm sorry.
Goal 2, objective 1, policy 4.
Yeah, I think that one is kind of handled under transportation. I don't know if we would need it here too. But it also talks about
Turn off my thing.
the
my thing,
development
turn
of
off
the
the
trail
wall.
system
I
for,
turned it off. I didn't press it twice. I don't know.
I'm not sure if there's just a policy here where we could say regarding non-motorized traffic, refer to transportation.
Well, and this is utilities and community facilities.
Yeah.
Is that either of those? I mean, I would agree, we're addressing it in transportation, it certainly fits in transportation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole ton of detail in the outdoor recreation plan too,
Right.
that goes along with all this.
Strike.
Yeah, I would say we could strike both policy 2 and policy 4.
Oh, yeah.
So goal number 1, objective number 2, provide infrastructure and public services that responds to the needs of an aging population. I don't know why we need to have aging in there. I think it would just be response to the needs of our population. Because it promote coordinated sewer and water expansion. That wouldn't just serve, I mean, I guess we're all aging, right? Like.
Including the need for accessibility covers the aging part. It covers what you would want.
Yeah, yeah, you can remove the word and still have.
Yeah, you can keep the meaning.
Yeah. So the other piece of that is that it doesn't talk about is the fact that, so the last time we did strategic plan, putting sewer system within Rome Town Center was the big goal that had come out of that. And this talks about sewer and water, but doesn't really address that we would like to have sewer within commercial development. And so I think this would be an opportunity to add sewer within our commercial development.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where it's feasible and makes sense.
So we'll add in a policy 2, you're suggesting,
Yes.
under objective 3?
Yep.
Yeah, I think policy 1 covers our residential piece, and then I think policy 2 could be commercial. It's a good idea.
Under objective number 1, policy number 4, I'm not, the words fire department success, I don't know. Provide the safest, most effective fire protection possible and continue to monitor or analyze needs of the fire department, yes, but that idea of like, I don't know, we don't call out success of the zoning department, right? Like, and then how do you determine that success? There's no measurable.
It's by proclamation. Remove it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So we'll take out,
The entire policy or just?
No, just the word
concept
success.
success.
Just the word
Yeah.
success.
anything else on this one? Okay. So the last piece of your packet, and that maybe Nick wants to talk a little bit about this, and I'll,
Yeah, maybe we need to
yep. So item number 12, discussion and possible action, referral of any recommended zoning code amendments to plan commission. There was a piece in the packet that was asked, I think Bill asked this last time, about overlays within zoning. So,
Yeah, so not, that was included as a requested item. It's not the intention to review that at this time, but I did want to make sure everybody had a copy of that. So when we do get through with each of these goals, objectives, and policies for each item that we have in the comp plan, and start to incorporate that into zoning, that if it is a item that is a consideration, we have some of the background information for overlay districts and zoning amendments. It's, if nothing else, it's good information to have going into that process. I would also make one other comment, and that is, I know there's an item on the Plan Commission's agenda tonight for accessory structures and lot coverage area. In the event that we don't get to it again, it may be a good launch point to kind of work through the zoning ordinance with this committee at its next meeting. So depending on where it goes at Plan Commission, it also may be a good one to review either way for number 12, just to kind of see how that process might fit and just go through it with this committee as well.
We'll do all the real work here and then hand it over to the short-term rental committee. I mean, plan commission.
Should've laughed at that.
You're on that one too.
Yeah,
But I think that would be a good exercise. So we've had this, and we will have it as a rolling agenda item. That might be a good exercise to see how this process works, and then really kind of start to go through the zoning ordinance.
So we'll make a note, we'll include, well, we'll see how far we get in plan commission, but given that it's 40-some agenda items tonight,
Oh my God.
is your head breaking?
that one will likely come back for next month, that we include the draft language in your packet.
And some other good opportunities with that item is that we did visit this initially with the Plan Commission, so we do have some thoughts from Plan Commission. So I can report that, we can kind of do some of the lifting here, and then make a recommendation to Plan Commission.
Anything else for agenda item number 12? Okay,
I did see that an overlay district could achieve what I was talking about at the CDA meeting last week, which was tree-lined corridors.
Yes, and there's examples out there of
Right.
communities that are doing it.
I'll keep harping.
I included that just for you.
The overlay, yeah.
Yeah, when
I know you did,
When
yeah.
you had mentioned it.
In fact, I was looking for that article and it was here now, so I have it. Thank you.
so dates and items for future agendas and meetings, next agenda items. So we would do our second review of the chapter 3, 4, and 5, and then we will add on the chapters 6, 7, and 8. We'll try and get through as much as we can at that next meeting, and then if we also had draft language. Also, if we can make a note for the next meeting, we'll include the future land use map as part of the packet. Not that we would address it next time, but I think it's good just for you guys to spend a little time with it and just familiarize with it and be looking at it, because I think a big piece of this we'll spend on that map.
I might add, when you look at that map, look for areas that you think it would be germane to add multi-unit housing, because there aren't a lot of places.
Even
Right now.
residential, right? I mean, how?
Oh, yeah, where you want, but I mean, specifically, look where you might wanna put, besides the town center. Cause there's only one or two places on that map, if I'm not mistaken.
I think 2.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Then next meeting date and time, we have tentative, cause it would be before Plan Commission again, for June 14th at 2:30. I think 2:30 worked good today. We all get a little break before Plan. Does that work in everyone's schedule?
I can't make that
Okay,
or plan commission that day, so
okay.
if you guys, can you be here by any chance?
On the 14th? I'm just looking right now. Yeah, looks like I can do it.
Okay, great. Then you'd be alternate for that day. That would be awesome.
My flag day plans, but.
Okay, so Tuesday, June 14th at 2:30, and then I would call the meeting adjourned at 3:34 p.m. Thank you.